My wife had an affair with my best friend, and after her betrayal I discovered she faked her pregnancy. Then she secretly transferred $300, $0 from our joint account to her sister's charity. Now we're fighting over the house and the $1.2 million inheritance she's trying to steal. I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, writing about how my wife, Lisa, turned out to be a lying, cheating piece of work. Honestly, I thought we had something solid. We'd been together for over 10 years, married for 5. I was 43, she was 38, and I always believed we were in it for the long haul. We had a nice house, a good life, decent jobs, nothing fancy but enough to get by comfortably, or so I thought. The first sign something was off was small. Little things, really. She started staying out later than usual, claiming she was working late or meeting friends. At first, I didn't think much of it. Lisa's always been a bit of a drama queen, always had some excuse ready. But then I noticed her phone was never out of reach, and she'd get defensive when I asked about her texts. She'd brush it off, saying I was paranoid or insecure. That should have been a red flag, but I was too comfortable, too trusting. Then came the real bombshell. About 2 months ago, I noticed her hiding her phone when she thought I wasn't looking. I caught her deleting messages more than once. She'd get this bitchy, defensive attitude, like I was the one invading her privacy. I decided to check her messages when she was in the shower. That's when I saw it. An entire thread of texts between her and Mark, my best friend since college. They were clearly more than just friends. Flirty, suggestive, talking about meeting up, about keeping it a secret, and even plans to see each other the next weekend. I froze. My mind was racing. Why? How long? Did I miss the signs? I played it cool, but inside I was boiling with rage. I couldn't believe it. My wife, the woman I trusted with my life, was cheating on me with my best friend. The worst part, they were doing it right under my nose, and I had no idea. I felt betrayed, humiliated, like I'd been played for a fool. I decided to dig deeper. Over the next few days, I started paying closer attention. She'd get calls at odd hours, whispering, then rushing to hide her phone. She'd get defensive if I asked questions, accusing me of being paranoid. But I knew, I had proof. The texts, the secretive behavior, the way she'd brush past me or avoid eye contact. It was all there. One night I followed her. She left the house around 10 p.m., got into her car, and headed to some place she'd never mentioned before. I waited for her to come back. When she did, I confronted her. I told her I knew about Mark, about the affair. Her face twisted into this bitchy sneer. She denied everything at first, said I was imagining things, that I was jealous, insecure. She called me paranoid, said I was accusing her of something she didn't do. But I had the evidence. Her phone was sitting on the kitchen counter, and I found messages between her and Mark confirming they'd been seeing each other for months. That was the moment everything changed. The betrayal cut deep, but what crushed me more was her lies, her gaslighting. She kept insisting she was innocent, that I was making things up, that it was all a mistake. She even tried to turn it around, accusing me of not trusting her, of being overly jealous. That woman has a real talent for lying, I'll give her that. The emotional toll hit me hard. I was furious, then devastated, then numb. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I could have been so blind. I felt like I'd been living with a stranger all these years. The woman I loved, the woman I shared my life with, was out there screwing my best friend, lying to my face and pretending everything was fine. The worst part, I found out she was also faking her pregnancy to manipulate me. She told me she was pregnant, then faked ultrasounds, fake doctor visits, all to keep me from asking questions, to keep me under her thumb. I was so angry I could barely breathe. I wanted to scream, to punch something. But I also felt hollow, sad, like I'd lost part of myself. I kept thinking about all those years, the trust I had, the plans we made. It all felt like a lie now. And then came the money. I discovered she transferred $300, $0 from our joint account to her sister's charity. I found out about it a week ago, and that was the final straw. She's trying to steal from me, trying to take everything I worked for, including the house and a supposed inheritance of $1.2 million that she's now fighting me over. Honestly, I don't even know what's real anymore. All I want is to make her pay for what she's done, but I also know I need to be smart about it. I've been thinking about revenge, about turning the tables on her. She thinks she's untouchable, that she can lie, cheat, steal, and get away with it. Well, I plan to show her she's wrong, but I'll tell you, this whole thing has changed me. I don't trust anyone anymore, and I sure as hell don't trust her. After everything I discovered, her affair with Mark, the fake pregnancy, the theft of our money, I knew I had to act. Sitting there in my house, feeling like I'd been punched in the gut 100 times over, I realized I couldn't just walk away or try to patch things up. She had crossed every line, and honestly, I was too angry to think straight. But beneath all that rage, there was this cold, calculated part of me that knew I had to plan carefully. I couldn't let her see my hand, not yet. I had to be smarter than her, more ruthless. First thing I did was dig into her accounts. I needed to know exactly where that $300 went. It didn't take long. I found out she transferred it to her sister's charity, an organization she set up just to funnel money away from me. That wasn't just betrayal, it was theft. I also uncovered some other suspicious transactions, large cash withdrawals, some offshore accounts I never knew about. She'd been planning this for a while. She thought she was clever, that I'd never catch her. But I had the proof now, and I knew I had to use it carefully. The next step was to get legal advice. I found a good lawyer, someone who specializes in divorce and asset protection. I explained everything, her affair, the money theft, the fake pregnancy. I wanted to make sure I was prepared to fight for the house, for my inheritance, and to hold her accountable. I also started gathering evidence, screenshots of the texts, bank statements, anything that could help me win the legal battle. I didn't want her to manipulate her way out of this like she had with everything else. Meanwhile, I kept a close eye on her. She was still acting bitchy, trying to spin stories, deny everything, but I could tell she was nervous. She knew I was onto her, and that made her more desperate. I caught her trying to contact Mark again, even after I told her I knew everything. That was the moment I decided I'd had enough. I confronted her once more, told her I was filing for divorce and that I was taking every penny she tried to steal. I told her she'd regret every lie, every betrayal. I wanted her to see that I was serious, that I wasn't going to let her get away with it. That night, I sat down and drafted a plan. I knew she'd try to spin her way out of this, maybe even try to manipulate her sister or some lawyer to twist things in her favor. So I decided to be one step ahead. I contacted a private investigator I knew, someone who could confirm her ongoing affair with Mark if necessary. I also planned to record her whenever she was sneaking around. I didn't want just the evidence of her cheating. I wanted her to see she couldn't lie her way out of this. As I put my plan into motion, I felt a strange mixture of relief and dread. Relief because I finally had some control, some leverage. Dread because I knew this was going to get ugly fast. Lisa was a master manipulator, and I knew she'd fight dirty. She always did. I also knew I had to be prepared for her to try to turn this around on me, accuse me of being the bad guy, or worse, try to frame me for something I didn't do. In the meantime, I started making arrangements to protect my assets. I transferred my own accounts into a new name, just in case she tried to claim some of the inheritance or leverage her fake pregnancy to get more. I also contacted a real estate lawyer about the house. I knew she was trying to claim it through some legal loophole, but I had my own plans to keep what was mine. I'd fought for everything I had, and I wasn't about to let her steal it all just because she was a master liar. Every day since I found out has been a roller coaster. I feel like I've been living in some twisted nightmare. I go from furious to numb to determined. I've lost sleep over this. I keep thinking about how she lied to me for so long, how she played me for a fool. I thought I knew her. I thought I knew us. Turns out I didn't know anything. I keep asking myself how I let it get this far, how I could have missed the signs. But I know I can't change the past. All I can do now is fight to get what's rightfully mine and make sure she doesn't walk away with everything. I'm not naive enough to think I'll get everything back perfectly. But I do know this. I'll make her regret every lie, every betrayal. She thought she could cheat her way out of this, steal from me, manipulate her way into a better life. Well, she's about to learn that karma's a bitch. And I'm the one holding the cards now. After laying the groundwork and gathering all my evidence, I started putting my plan into motion. I knew Lisa was not the type to go quietly. She's always been bitchy, manipulative, and a master at twisting situations to her favor. That's why I had to be cautious. I couldn't just confront her outright and expect her to fold. No, I needed to set traps, make her think she still had control, while secretly working to dismantle her lies. First, I hired the private investigator I mentioned earlier. I wanted to catch her red-handed, especially with Mark. I told him to follow her discreetly, especially during her supposed business meetings or doctor visits. I also instructed him to record her whenever possible. I knew she'd try to spin stories, deny everything, or even try to manipulate her sister into lying for her. I didn't want any of that. I needed hard proof, and I was willing to wait for it. Meanwhile, I started secretly recording her conversations. I hid a small voice recorder in the living room and placed another in her car. I knew she'd be suspicious if I suddenly started acting overly cautious. So I played it cool. I also kept close tabs on her bank accounts, checking every transaction, every transfer, every withdrawal. It was clear she was trying to hide her tracks, but I was determined to find every single one. One evening, I caught her in a lie. She was on the phone, whispering, and I managed to overhear enough to realize she was planning to meet Mark again. I felt a surge of anger, but I kept my composure. I waited until she went to bed, then I played back the recordings I had collected all day. Watching her squirm when she realized I'd caught her was almost satisfying. She tried to deny it, of course, but I had the proof. I confronted her with everything. Her face turned pale, then red with rage. Her reaction was classic Lisa. She started calling me paranoid, insecure, crazy. She accused me of spying on her, of invading her privacy. She spat out some bullshit about how I was jealous and that I was making everything up. But I was. I had her dead to rights. I told her I was done playing her games. I told her I was going to file for divorce, take back what's mine, and expose her for the lying, manipulative bitch she really is. She snapped. Her bitchy side came out full force. She started screaming, calling me all sorts of names, possessive, controlling, jealous. She even tried to turn it around, saying I was the one cheating, that I was insecure because I suspected her. I just looked at her and said, "You've been screwing my best friend, lying about being pregnant, stealing my money, and now you're trying to manipulate your way out of this. You're done, Lisa." That's when I made a critical decision. I told her I'd be taking her to court. I'd file for full custody of the house and the inheritance, and I'd expose her lies to everyone. I knew she'd try to fight me tooth and nail, but I had enough evidence to crush her. I also warned her I'd be reporting her to the authorities for the money transfer, $300, that she tried to steal from me. She tried to play innocent, but I saw through her. Her bitchy, manipulative mask was slipping, and I knew she was running out of options. Over the next few days, I worked with my lawyer to get everything in order. I prepared the divorce papers, the asset division, and the court filings. I also started preparing my testimony, making sure I had all the evidence lined up, screenshots, recordings, bank statements. I knew Lisa would do everything she could to twist the story, lie, or manipulate her way out of it, but I was ready. I had her cornered. Meanwhile, Lisa started to get more desperate. She tried to guilt-trip me, claiming she was pregnant and that I should forgive her. She even tried to turn the kids against me, saying I was the bad guy. But I didn't fall for her tricks. I stayed firm. I knew her game. She's always been good at playing the victim, but I refused to be manipulated anymore. I was done being a pawn in her sick game. One day, she stormed into my office furious. She accused me of ruining her life, of trying to take everything she deserves. I looked her in the eyes and said, "You lied, cheated, stole, and faked a pregnancy to manipulate me. You thought you could get away with it. Well, that ends now. I'm taking everything back, and you're going to regret ever crossing me." Her bitchy smirk faded. For the first time, I saw a flicker of real fear in her eyes. That's when I realized I was finally in control. She could scream, cry, lie, or manipulate all she wanted. It didn't matter. I had everything I needed to win this war. I knew she'd fight dirty, try to spin her lies, and maybe even come after me legally, but I was prepared. I'd make sure she paid for every lie, every betrayal, every ounce of pain she caused. I still can't believe I got to this point. Just a few weeks ago, I thought I had a happy marriage. Now I see her for what she really is, a bitchy, manipulative liar who thought she could steal my money, fake her pregnancy, and betray me with my best friend. But I'm done being the victim. I'm done letting her control the narrative. The game's on, and I'm about to win. The whole process has been a whirlwind. Once I had everything lined up, proof of her affair, the fake pregnancy, the transfer of the $300, $0, I knew I had to act fast. I didn't want Lisa to realize how much I knew until I was ready. So I kept playing it cool, pretending everything was normal while I worked behind the scenes to set my legal and financial plans in motion. I met with my lawyer again, going over all the evidence. We drafted a motion for divorce, a request for full custody of the house, and a detailed asset division plan. I made it clear I was prepared to fight her every step of the way. She'd been trying to manipulate her way into keeping her share of the inheritance and the house, but I had the proof that she faked her pregnancy and tried to steal from me. The lawyer told me I had a strong case, especially with the recordings and bank statements. Meanwhile, I also reached out to a forensic accountant to help trace where the stolen money went. Turns out, she transferred most of it to offshore accounts, trying to hide her tracks. That was the moment I realized just how deep her lies went. She thought she was so clever, but I was one step ahead. I also hired a private investigator to keep tabs on her ongoing activities, especially her meetings with Mark. I wanted to catch her red-handed if she slipped up again. One night I got the call I'd been waiting for. The pie had followed her to a hotel where she was meeting Mark. They were in a room for hours. I sat in my car outside, recording everything. Watching her with that smug smile, thinking she had everything under control, made me furious. She was so caught up in her lies, she didn't realize I was the one holding all the cards. I had her dead to rights, and I was going to use every bit of that evidence. The next day, I confronted her again. I told her I knew about her ongoing affair, about how she was still sneaking around with Mark. I showed her the recordings, the bank statements, the proof of the transfer. Her bitchy facade cracked for a second. Then she started screaming, calling me paranoid, jealous, insecure. She said I was just trying to control her, that she was entitled to her own life. But I cut her off. I told her she was a liar, a manipulator, and a thief, that I was going to take everything from her lies, her fake pregnancy, her schemes. That's when she really lost it. She started crying, throwing a tantrum, trying to guilt-trip me into backing down. She said she loved me, that she was sorry, and that she'd do anything to fix it. But I wasn't buying it. I saw her for what she really was, a bitchy, selfish woman who thought she could get away with anything. I told her she had no choice but to accept the consequences. I filed for divorce that very day. I also made sure to include a request for full custody of the kids, given her unstable behavior and her ongoing lies. I told her I'd be fighting for the house and the inheritance, especially since she was trying to steal my rightful share. I warned her that I had enough evidence to expose everything and that she wouldn't get away with her schemes. She tried to threaten me, saying I'd regret this, but I just smiled and told her she'd regret the day she ever crossed me. While all this was happening, I kept a close eye on her. She was getting more desperate, trying to spin stories to the kids, trying to manipulate her family into siding with her. But I had the evidence and I was ready to fight. I even started talking to a therapist to help me process everything, because honestly, it's been a brutal emotional ride. The betrayal, the lies, the theft, it's all taken a toll. In the back of my mind, I keep thinking about how Lisa thought she was so clever, how she believed she could fake her way out of everything and come out on top. But she underestimated me. She thought she could cheat, lie, steal, and manipulate her way into a better life. Well, now she's about to learn that karma's a bitch, and I'm the one holding the winning hand. Every time I see her bitchy little smirk turn into panic, I know I'm winning. And the best part, I haven't even started the real fight yet. This is just the beginning. The legal battle has escalated quickly. Once I filed for divorce, custody, and asset division, Lisa's true colors came out even more. She started playing the victim, crying to anyone who would listen, claiming I was attacking her, trying to ruin her life. But I had the evidence, every text, every bank transfer, every secret meeting. It was all on my side now. She couldn't spin her lies forever. She tried to manipulate the situation, claiming she was pregnant again, this time with some new story about a doctor's visit she'd scheduled. I knew it was bullshit. I had her on record saying she faked the last pregnancy to control me, to keep me from leaving. I also had the proof she transferred the money to her sister's charity, trying to hide her theft. Her bitchy attitude didn't change. She kept insisting she was entitled to the inheritance and the house because she was the wife. Even though I had the legal proof she'd lied about her pregnancy, cheated on me, and stole from us. She called me controlling, insecure, jealous, everything but the truth. I just sat there, listening to her spin her stories, knowing I was one step ahead. Meanwhile, I also started talking to a forensic accountant to see if I could recover some of the stolen money. Turns out, she moved most of it offshore, trying to hide her tracks. That was a huge relief because I knew I'd be able to get some of it back through legal channels. I also hired a private investigator to keep tabs on her ongoing activities, especially her meetings with Mark. If she was still sneaking around, I wanted to catch her in the act. One particular day, I got the evidence I'd been waiting for. The pie followed her to a hotel again where she was with Mark. I sat in my car outside, recording everything. Watching her with that smug look on her face, thinking she was untouchable, made my blood boil. I knew she was trying to manipulate her way out of everything, but I had her dead to rights. I had her on tape, I had the bank statements, she was finished. I confronted her with all of it. I played the recordings, showed her the bank transactions, the fake ultrasounds, everything. Her bitchy attitude was replaced by pure panic. She started screaming, claiming I was stalking her, accusing me of being obsessed. But I didn't care. I told her she was a liar, a thief, and that I was going to take everything, her house, the inheritance, her access to the kids, if she kept up her bullshit. She tried to guilt-trip me, saying I was ruining her life, that she loved me and that she'd do anything to fix this. But I told her she'd already done enough damage. I told her I'd fight her in court and I'd fight dirty if I had to. I was done playing nice. I wanted her to understand she couldn't manipulate her way out of this mess. The court hearing started. I was nervous but confident. My evidence was solid. Lisa's lawyers tried to argue that I was paranoid, that her affair was just a misunderstanding, that her fake pregnancy was a mistake. But I had everything documented. Her lies, her theft, her ongoing affair. I knew I'd win. And I did. The judge granted full custody of the kids to me, awarded me the house, and ordered her to pay back the stolen money plus legal damages. That day, Lisa's bitchy mask finally cracked for good. She looked defeated, furious, and desperate. Her sneers and manipulative smirks were gone. She realized she was about to lose everything she'd tried to steal. I saw her try to spin one last story, but I just shook my head. I knew I'd won, and I felt a strange sense of relief mixed with anger. She thought she could cheat her way through life, but she was wrong. I was done being the victim, and I was done trusting her. Now I'm rebuilding. I've moved out of the house, started over somewhere else, and am focusing on my kids and my future. The inheritance she was trying to steal, it's protected now, and I'm getting a chunk of it back. The fake pregnancy, proven to be a lie, her manipulation tactics, all exposed. I've learned a lot from this nightmare, mainly that trust is fragile, and some people will do anything to get what they want. Honestly, I don't regret standing up for myself. I should have seen her true colors sooner, but I was blinded by years of love and hope. Now I see her for what she really is, a bitchy, manipulative liar who thought she could walk all over me. But I fought back and I won. And if there's one thing I'd tell anyone in a similar situation, it's this. Don't wait for the betrayal to hit you hard. Stay alert, keep your evidence, and never underestimate how far someone will go when they feel entitled to everything. Because in the end, justice isn't about revenge, it's about protecting yourself from the people who want to take everything you've worked for. Now, sitting here reflecting on everything, I realize this whole ordeal has changed me in ways I never expected. I used to trust blindly, thinking that love meant loyalty no matter what. Turns out, some people are just good at pretending, good at lying, manipulating, and stealing. Lisa proved to be one of those people. The woman I thought I knew was a complete stranger, selfish, vindictive, and willing to burn everything down just to get what she wanted. The betrayal cut deep, but it also forced me to grow some thick skin. I learned how to read people better, to trust my instincts, and to never let my guard down completely. I also learned that true strength isn't about fighting back physically or emotionally alone. It's about being smart, gathering evidence, and knowing when to walk away. I no longer see her as the woman I loved. I see her as a cautionary tale, a reminder that sometimes the person you trust the most can turn out to be your biggest enemy. The legal process was messy, draining, and emotionally exhausting, but it was also necessary. Without the evidence I collected, texts, recordings, bank statements, I wouldn't have stood a chance against her manipulations. I had to fight for everything I believed was rightfully mine: the house, the inheritance, my reputation. And I did it. I won. Not just because I had the law on my side, but because I refused to let her take everything I worked for. As for her, I hear she's trying to rebuild her life somewhere else. Good. I hope she gets everything she deserves, karma, justice, whatever you want to call it. She's not the only one who's learned a lesson here. I've learned that sometimes the best revenge is living well without her dragging me down anymore. I've started focusing on my kids, my career, my own happiness. That's what matters now. Looking back, I wish I'd seen the signs earlier, but what's done is done. I trust myself more now. I trust my judgment. And I trust that I'll never let someone like Lisa manipulate me again. The pain, the anger, the betrayal, they all hurt like hell, but they also made me stronger. And that's what I want everyone to take away from this. No matter how bad it gets, you can come out the other side. You just have to be smart, stay vigilant, and never let anyone steal your peace. So if you're in a similar situation, my advice is simple. Gather your evidence, stay calm, and fight for what's yours. Don't let betrayal define you. Pick yourself up, learn from it, and move forward. Because in the end, the only person you can truly rely on is yourself. And if you're lucky, someday you'll look back and realize that all the pain was just fuel for your comeback.